You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Steven Christopher Stamkos. That is the show. That's all we got. We'll see you guys next time here on RBLR. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back, everybody, here to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, Matt Gannon, Joe Zamataro. Guys, welcome back to the show. You know, we only had 2 games since the last one, but we still have a lot to talk about. Joe, I'll start with you. How you doing today, my friend?
4 points richer and a major milestone, doing pretty well.
Matt, how about yourself?
Joe said it best. Even though, work has kind of beaten me up recently, what better way to blow off some steam than complain about 2 wins?
I love it. Yes, absolutely. That's what we're here to do. We did have a pretty good week, all things considered, even though there were the 2 games. Joe, as you mentioned, the Bolts picking up 4 points, and they are continuing to roll as we have start the month of December here. So let's jump right into it without further ado. Checking out some news and notes from for the Lightning since this last week. First thing I want to mention here, Dylan Duke was named to the World Juniors training camp roster. So kind of a just quick shout out to him, Dylan Duke, one of the bigger Lightning prospects, I would say, in the pool. And it looks like he's going to be making an appearance at the World Juniors. So some exciting stuff for him. Now, we did have some news for the Lightning as well. Since Anthony Cirelli came back, which we'll get to in his performance against the Leafs, Myers was sent down on waivers, and Cole Koepke also went down to Syracuse. So 2 Lightning players going back down to the Miners. Myers did clear waivers, so he is back down there in Syracuse as well for the Lightning. But those moves had to be made because of cap constraints. And I want to ask you guys this. What are your thoughts on Myers being the one sent down? Remember, the Lightning signed him to a contract extension for the next couple of years as well. So he's got a pretty decent contract. Joe, I'll start with you. Were you surprised that Myers was sent down?
I mean, we've been talking about it for the better part of a month now, maybe a little bit over, that someone's going to have to inevitably be sent down. And it was, in my opinion, kind of obvious that it was probably going to be Myers. Foot was too much of a risk of being claimed, and Myers hasn't played horribly, but you really don't have much else of a choice. So I wouldn't say it's a surprise. The timing surprised me just a little bit. I guess I expected them to hold on a little bit longer before making any sort of move like that, but definitely something that we saw coming.
I know it surprised me for sure. I thought Myers was playing pretty well. He started to get a little bit less playing time there, but I thought it would have been one of the other guys. But I think the main reason for this is because of his contract, and he had one of the bigger contracts on the team, and because of the whole cap situation, which is super complicated, and you basically need a degree in the salary cap to figure all that stuff out. It did take me by surprise a little bit. Matt, what about you?
I'm not necessarily surprised. When I did see it, it kind of made me jump for joy. I'm like, oh my God, Cirelli's coming back. So, the writing was on the wall. But I don't. You guys have heard me kind of vamp about it before. I'm not really the biggest Myers fan. I don't necessarily understand the extension we signed him to, even though it still is at a discount. It's about half of what he's making right now, which still isn't much. It's just about $1.5 million. I think it's 1.6 next year it kicks in. I still didn't necessarily understand the signing, but again, Joe made a great point in the chat saying we didn't know Perbix would be just this, beautiful revelation to us. So I understand it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. That's not the point. Hopefully he can kind of reassure his game and get it back maybe in Syracuse, find a little bit more confidence or whatever. But I think he's being outplayed by Hayden Fleury, Perbix, and even Cal Foote. So to me, it's not necessarily surprising.
Perbix definitely threw a wrench, I think, in a good wrench in everybody's plans, as he has been somebody that the Lightning have really enjoyed coming up here, and he's played so well. So good. Those guys, they'll get some time down in Syracuse to hopefully, continue to get better as well, and then be ready for the Lightning if they do need him. Cole Koepke especially, I don't think he played bad at all. He was a decent player, but of course you're going to put Anthony Cirelli in the lineup when he comes back. Now, as for other injuries on the Lightning, Balser's still out right now. There's been no real update on him. Which is kind of concerning, I think. We haven't really even heard a timetable for his return, so I don't know how long it's going to be. And then plus with Cirelli coming back, it makes it even more difficult for him to find his way back into the lineup. So even if he is starting to get healthy, I don't know exactly where he fits into this, but it's unlikely we probably see him in a while, which, guys, I don't know about you, is a little disappointing for me because I really liked the way he was playing when he was first on the team in those couple of games he did get into. Matt, do you think we'll see him anytime soon here?
I sure hope so. I know, you just said, we're not really hearing anything, and that might not be a good thing. To me, the less we know, the better. If it was something, really, really major, we would have some sort of information right now, but, just kind of the phones are dead. Nobody really knows anything. So to me, that's kind of, reassuring in a sense. We know he's still going to be out for, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so. Again, it's not crucial. It's better. This sounds terrible to say, better him than somebody else, being kind of a rotating forward. As of right now, I think we have a completely 100% knock on wood healthy lineup. So I would hope we'd be able to see him sometime soon, but at the same time, you kind of don't, because he is that 13th forward. Where does he really slot in? It's difficult, but who are we going to sub out to put him in? Cooper, he doesn't like to sub out his guys like that. So I don't know. I hope we don't see him soon, but I hope he is healthy soon. If you get what I mean.
In my opinion, that's a person that can. I mentioned last show that we were really looking at that bottom six. He can rotate into a fourth line role if one of the guys either go down or plays, starts or continues having bad play. Really, that fourth line started playing pretty well this week, which I know we'll get into a little bit later. So yeah, Balsers might be in a one of those sort of reserve roles where you just call him up on the unfortunate scenario crops up where someone gets injured.
Which is a good problem to have, obviously, for the Lightning. It feels like every year they have one of those guys where it's just they're coming out of nowhere. This year it's been Nick Perbix. Balsers has kind of fit into that role. Granted, he's only played like 2 games, so we really don't know his full potential, but he's played well and is kind of an ace in the hole for the Lightning that they can call up, which is always a good thing to have. Let's jump into those game recaps. There's only 2 of them, but both of them kind of big in their own ways. We'll start off with things as the Lightning took on the Philadelphia Flyers in Philly, and the Lightning were actually wearing their home jerseys for this one because the Flyers were wearing their reverse retros for this game. The Lightning win this one by a final score of 4-1, kind of a one-sided game. Nick Paul gets 2 goals in this one. Ross Colton and Ian Cole also picking up a goal, but the big story in this game is obviously Steven Stamkos picking up a secondary assist on Nick Paul's second goal, and of course, that was his 1,000th point in the NHL. He is now the 95th player to pick up 1,000 points, so a huge accomplishment for him. Congratulations to Steven Stamkos. Guys, this has been a guy, he's been the captain for the Lightning for so long. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, and yet he still finds a way to somehow kind of be underrated, and you kind of forget about it because he could have been 1,000 points so long ago if he had played all those games, but he has really turned his game around in the last 2 years, really, and he has now hit a huge milestone at 1,000 points. Super exciting. First player in Lightning history to do it as well.
And you know what? The best part about it, too, is that it comes with just one single team, the team he was drafted to. 2016 was kind of a scary time. Will he or won't he sign somewhere else? And, we took the gamble. He took the gamble to stay in Tampa, and it just paid dividends. He is now undisputably the king, the face of the franchise. He is Mr. Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm running out of words. I mean, how can you... There's nothing really a good way to describe just how proud we all are. I guess, but I couldn't be happier for him. I know nobody else could be happier for him. And he's still got some big milestones like coming up on the way. He's touching 500 goals. He's close to 1,000 games played. And just the sheer resilience of him and the way he just proved everybody wrong. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I wasn't, I wasn't part of the trade Stamkos party or anything like that, but I was like, there's no way he can be his former self. I was a doubter, and I commend the hell out of him for being able to prove everybody wrong, me included. I as much of a Stamkos homer as you yourself might think you are, there was still that little doubt in the back of your mind. So for him to just be able to have a career resurgence like this and still going, hitting 1,000 points is no small feat. To do it with his draft day team, it just words cannot describe it. I couldn't be happier or prouder.
Yeah, and it definitely was. I'm not going to say I was one that wanted to trade him, but starting to look for alternatives to get more point production on the team because he was struggling there for a while where it wasn't healthy. I know Jake's not very happy with that response from me, but the truth of the matter was it almost looked like he was on the backside of his career. And yeah, I admittedly was very wrong on that one. They don't ask how, they just ask how many. And even though it was a secondary assist, you saw the relief on his face and a smile a mile wide. I kind of chewed a little bit on Bergeron with his 1,000th point, that he got a secondary assist that wasn't it was kind of like a bouncing puck. But at least in this play, Stamkos made a great pass to generate the opportunity, and looking forward to getting that number 500 goal here in I'm guessing in December.
And I do want to shout out the fans in Philadelphia. It was kind of a chorus of boos, very briefly. We know they're known for being a very classy fan base. Yeah, but those boos quickly turned into some mild cheers. It was a very respectable, humble ovation for Stamkos. I don't think there's anybody in the league that hates him, can't stand him. Kudos to the Philly fans. The bar's not very high, but
the broadcast team kind of brought up that the fans may not have been aware of the milestone coming up, and then once it kind of spread throughout the crowd, they became more accepting of the cheering that
they put it
the
up
whole
on the
team getting on the
jumbotron.
ice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what is that? What is that like? You're sitting imagine me in this game. You're going to this Flyers game. Maybe you're not a huge hockey fan. You're just casually going, and his team scores a goal. It was they were up 2-0 at the time, and the whole team just spills over the boards and goes and celebrates. You're like, what is going on right now? What is happening? And then
a bunch of boos,
too.
and then
right,
you're
like,
okay, I respect it.
Yeah, exactly. And then they did put in the jumbotron, and as you mentioned, the Philly fans did start to cheer. The best fan reaction, though, and you have to give credit to this fan base, the Winnipeg Jets, when Stamkos scored 60 goals, who gave him immediately standing ovation. I mean, that is, if you want to talk about being a classy fan base, the Winnipeg Jets did a fantastic job with that. I'll never forget that when Stamkos got that.
Stan. We respect the Jets on this podcast.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, but a huge accomplishment for Steven Stamkos, you guys were talking about. And you're right, a lot of people were ready to move on from him or thinking, maybe it's time for him to retire. I was shaking my head because I'm a homer of the Tampa Bay Lightning, as you guys all know, and I would have defended Steven Stamkos to the end of time. But a lot of people, thought that, and rightfully so. I mean, he was having a lot of injury issues, and, you looked at his stats, they were kind of slipping a little bit, but as you mentioned, Matt, Stamkos proved everybody wrong, and he's still doing it. It wasn't like a 1-year turnaround. I mean, he's on pace once again for just about 100 points. I think it's like 99.87 or something like that, but he is on pace for another 100-point season, which is unbelievable for him as well. I do quickly want to keep going with this Flyers game. I don't want to overlook the entire game because the Lightning played really well, and even though Philly is struggling right now, the Flyers did beat the Lightning in their first appearance, and I thought they played a full 60 minutes in this game for the most part. They had that one slip up, which unfortunately made Andrei Vasilevsky not get the shutout there. But Nick Paul scored another 2 goals. He has been absolutely huge for the Lightning. I think he's trying to make a case for him being the greatest trade in Lightning history. As they, just Matthew Joseph was all they gave up for him, and Joseph is a great player, but Nick Paul, he really can do it all. I mean, he's continued another fantastic game, and just the Lightning overall played a really solid 60 minutes. Joe, your thoughts on this game overall?
Well, after watching the Boston game, it's apparent how much the team was trying to shore things up in their own end and just play solid, steady hockey. And bringing that same mentality into that Flyers game, it was an absolutely dominant performance. They just didn't have a lot of momentum throughout the entire time that game was going on. One stat to throw out here is that the faceoff percentage, the Lightning were 65% in the faceoffs. That is huge when it comes to maintaining zone time, when it comes just puck possession in general. And that there was one shift which I'll let Matt elaborate on that was probably their best shift of the entire season without it resulting in a goal. And just Philly had nothing to come back with. That's the type of team that I want to see, one that is doing it in their own back end and still putting points on the board.
Yeah, and elaborating on that specific shift, it was as much as domination could be. Not only was it probably the best shift of this team this year, but it's probably a top 3 shift league wide this year. I mean, they had the Flyers, specifically Rasmus Ristolainen, hemmed in their zone. They were sewing them to the ice. It was brutal. It was just constant puck movement. We managed to cycle 3 different lines and 2, possibly even all 3 D pairings. I can't quite remember, but it just went on for so long. It was, if not 4 minutes just touching it, Rasmus Ristolainen, he was out there for the entire brutal shift. It was just utter domination. It only resulted in about 2 shots on net, but there were still a lot of great chances, great cycling, great keeps, just awesome puck movement. Everybody was involved. Even the fourth line got out there. They managed to get some really good chances and some really great possession numbers in this one single shift. Not to mention they were great in the entire rest of the game. This was a great game for the fourth line. Even Belmar had a couple of chances, didn't make any unforced errors, specifically Belmar. I thought everybody looked good, but especially this second period was one that just really stuck out to me, given the entire season so far.
Yeah, talking on Belmar, this was one of his strongest games of the season, someone that I've been very critical of. He did get a shot on goal. He had no giveaways, and he was part of one of the lines that were keeping the Philly defense boxed into their own zone there.
It's one of those games that is looked at as a quote-unquote boring game, but was game for the Lightning. And even though, again, it was against Philly, who was struggling, the Lightning had a bigger test against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are not quite as good as Boston, but another one of those teams that's right up there at the top of the league. And the Lightning were going to have a tough opponent coming into this one, and they showed up in this one. Lightning take home the victory 4-3 in overtime. Guys, another game that I would say is like a playoff atmosphere. It felt like a very much back and forth game. Nemestikov finally gets himself on the board. He gets the monkey off his back, his first goal of this season, which is kind of crazy to say, but a huge goal for him. And then, of course, Anthony Cirelli picking up the assist on this first goal. It's his first game back and his first one here in this regular season. So Cirelli immediately making an impact for the Lightning. And again, as I mentioned, back and forth all the way through. The Lightning eventually do take a lead, but Toronto ties it up late. And then overtime, Cirelli again gets it over to Alex Killorn, who just fires it home for a quick winner in overtime. The Lightning pick up yet another 2 points against a tough and good opponent. It wasn't a perfect game, guys, but anytime you can pick up 2 points against a good Toronto team, that's a win in my book.
It was far from a perfect game, but it wasn't. I wouldn't call it a bad game by any stretch either. You could see some of those qualities that they've had in the last 2 games. So Boston and Philadelphia, where they really shored things up and kind of carried that over into this game. But there were still some mistakes. Toronto, great team. They're always fun games against Toronto, for better or for worse. But definitely was some sloppiness, but I wouldn't call it an overall bad performance. The one thing that one of my notes I have here, one thing that really stuck out to me was the chaos control. I don't know if it was what really happened or why it was happening, but for some reason there was just a lot of chaos in this game. Chaos in the crease or just in the zone. We can't skip over the opening goal of the game, which was the Mitch Marner shorthanded goal. I mean, I don't know if it was just me. I know you guys as well, but just pulling my hair out. How are you going to keep making the same mistakes? I'm not at all singling out Sergachev. I think he's got a pretty decent excuse. I think Brian Engblom said it on the broadcast, and it made sense to me. But when he made that, he was regrouping in the zone, ready to make a breakout pass or something, or a drop back pass, right by Vasilevsky. I think he thought the ref was one of his own players trying to drop it back to him. He only saw him out of the corner of his eye. Mitch Marner takes the puck and really tries to outweight Vasilevsky. I'm not quite sure if Vazzy got the save on it or Marner shot it wide, but Vasilevsky did a great job of covering him, trying to cover up that mistake by Sergachev. Regardless, the chaos control was at an absolute zero because nobody had any sense of awareness. Mitch Marner, we can talk a lot of crap about him, but he is a really, really fantastic player. I'm not going to go on a 5-minute spiel about how much he is so super, super awesome, but you can't be so lazy around him. So after Vasilevsky outweighted Marner, the puck went wide or whatever, nobody on the Lightning, on the power play, mind you, had any situational awareness. Nobody knew where to be, who to get, who to look for. Mitch Marner, I counted. I went back and watched the replay. Waited for 5 whole seconds. We can even call it 6 whole seconds in front of the net, just waiting for a pass to come back to him. Eventually it did. Nobody was covering him. They were all puck watching and puck chasing. Nobody was covering Marner. That's just it was the biggest flaw in the entire game. I just cannot believe they let him in front of the net for a total of 5 Mississippi seconds in front of the net, shorthanded. We're just, I feel like a broken record. I haven't been this, irate about it before, but I guess we'll expand upon it a little bit later. But to me, it was just the chaos control. It was not only that game, but it was the called off goal by John Tavares. It was just chaos everywhere. Nobody knew how to regroup, who to have, and who to look for. To me, that was the biggest glaring weakness in the entire game. The rest of the game was rather nice, though. I'm sorry, Joe, you can take over from here.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. And 5 seconds is an absolute eternity to be standing in front of the net, especially when we've got more players on the ice than them. You survive that Marner attempt that was essentially like a breakaway going from side to side of the crease, and then you don't get back to bail out your goalie. And because of that, you saw some movement for the next power play. But this was, like you said, a game where it did kind of feel like playoffs in the sense that there was a lot of desperation for both teams. You could feel people really digging, really trying to create opportunities by driving into those hard areas, like right into the crease or battling on the boards. It was a very fast-paced game, but that's also what you get for such a skilled team. Bringing up Mitch Marner, he right now has the record for the longest point streak wearing a Toronto uniform. That's no small task given the history of that team. He's right now on
6-year-old record.
Incredible, right? So he's going to be getting in there and making a difference. This game really, it had everything. You had power play goals, you had shorthanded goals, you had waved off goals for both teams. It was quite an exciting one to watch. And you're saying you're pulling your hair out. This game was one that does that to me because you never know what to expect, and you're on the edge of your seat. There's a couple of periods where the Lightning seem to have full control, and then Toronto gets a little bit of room and would capitalize. They coming away with 2 points, even if you're giving up one, is still something that I think is a great job against a really solid team. And if this is the way the Lightning continue playing down the stretch here, then I really like the direction that the team's going.
I'm going to be Matt for a second here and say that, listen, as an NHL fan, it was a fantastic game, a lot of fun to watch overall. And especially, even though there's moments where you're right, Joe, you're probably pulling your hair out, that overtime winner. I mean, how sweet is it beating Toronto like that really quick, just off a simple Killorn shot? I jumped out of my chair and probably woke up a couple of my neighbors. I'm not going to lie. It was a really exciting play. I loved it. I love those kind of games. They're a lot of fun. And by the way, we also need to mention this. Corey Perry in this game, 1,200 NHL games. I mean, another unbelievable number. The fact that he has been in the league for this long and still playing at a very high level as well, if I do say so myself. But congratulations to Corey Perry as well.
That probably was his best game of the season.
Yeah,
it absolutely was.
He played really, really well, and he did it in his 1,200th game. I mean, that's a crazy, crazy number, and seemingly still going strong. Just needs to get that. I know he's got one Stanley Cup already, but he's had a little trouble of evading him these last couple of seasons. So hopefully we can finally get it to him as well. I also do want to mention, too, the Steven Stamkos ceremony that the Lightning put on. Fantastic job by the Tampa Bay Lightning. We talk about all the time how the Lightning are such a great organization. I remember when we were doing our season previews for this upcoming season and looking at the Lightning grades and stuff. They are such a model franchise. I mean, Tampa, everybody laughed when they said hockey is going to be in the South. People said there's no way that's going to work. They have turned into a premier franchise in the NHL. They rival some of even those original 6 teams sometimes with how big they're growing every year. And I say all this because they did a fantastic job with the ceremony for Steven Stamkos hitting 1,000 points. Everything that they did. If you guys haven't seen it, by the way, it's out there on Twitter or on YouTube as well. Definitely go check it out because it's really, really well done. They even give Stamkos's kids replica sticks of his silver stick, which is awesome. Just love that kind of stuff. I thought they did a really, really great job with that.
Something cool about the silver stick is they gave him his exact stick dimensions, the exact shaft length, the exact curve. Really neat attention to detail there, and giving the mini sticks to both of Steven's kids. Really, really nice touch. So
what you're saying is he's going to play with it in a game tomorrow?
Oh God, I don't know about all that. You know what? I would love to see a Steven Stamkos slap or one-timer with the silver stick and see how that works. Doesn't even have to be in game. I just want to see how that works.
That'd be pretty cool. Also need to mention as well, this is a little bit random, but I have to bring it up. I don't know if you guys, the Lightning post pictures all the time of these guys coming in suits and getting ready for the game. Guys, those guys look good. I mean, they've got it going on. I love the suits that they have. And by the way, if you want to look as good as those guys coming with the suits, make sure you head over to shop.rblrsports.com and pick up some of your own merch so you can look just as good rocking this awesome Tampa Bay Lightning merch. It's not just Tampa Bay Lightning either. It's Bucks, it's Rays, we got everything down there. The Rowdies as well. You can also use code BOLTS for 10% off your order as well. So head over there to shop.rblrsports.com and check out that awesome merch. Links in the description as well if you want to go check that out. Matt, I see you got a burning question right now. What do you got for me?
No, not a question. I want to give you kudos. That was a beautiful transition, but staying on topic of fashion, all our guys are just beautiful, handsome, dashing men. But last week, Bleacher Report's NHL affiliate, Open Ice, whatever it is, they voted Zach Bogosian best dressed player of the week. So we're not even, we're not being all smoke and mirrors here. Zach Bogosian, best dressed player in the NHL last week, and I can see a couple more on the way as well.
Hey, next week we're gonna have a new segment, Bolt's Fashion Corner, right? Talking about all the best dressed guys. Hey, I love it. I love that kind of stuff. I'm big into suits too. As someone that wants to be on TV one day, I'm like, I love that kind of stuff. I love rocking all those cool things that those guys come out with. So maybe it would be a fun segment to check out there. Let's go.
Like off-season segment.
Hey, you never know. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Hang out with us and be coming at you for a future episode. Let's go to our next segment, though. And of course, this one of everybody's favorites. It's your RBLR Stars of the Week. So for this week, of course, we will go in order as we normally do, starting off with the number 3 star. And guys, that is going to go to Anthony Cirelli. He comes back for his first game of the regular season against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he picks up 2 assists and plays a very, very good game, especially for it being his first game back. Anthony Cirelli gets the 3rd star of the week here on the RBLR Lightning podcast. Joe, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Cirelli's first game back?
I am so excited that Cirelli is back. It is something that the team desperately needed in order to get some more production. And look what happens. Cirelli comes back, and guess who gets a goal? Nemesnikov, somebody that desperately needed to start getting going. And Cirelli helps provide the juice to facilitate that happening. He also gets the primary assist on the game-winning goal from Alex Killorn in overtime. Cirelli is such an integral part of this team. He's like a heart and soul type of guy that goes in and really can disrupt plays. There is another play that didn't result in a goal that he made the Maple Leafs turn over the puck deep in their own end and sent it out front. I want to say it was Nemesnikov that he got it directly out front of the crease for, who it ended up getting saved, but he's just in there stirring stuff up. He looks like he hasn't missed a beat. I am so excited that he's back on the ice.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, like, did it look like he missed any time at all? Like, he came out buzzing. He was electric the entire game. I didn't realize, like, I missed him. I was like, dang, this team needs him, but I didn't realize how, integral he was a piece to this team. He came out flying. There was not one unnoticeable shift by him, and they were all positive shifts. I'm not even just blowing smoke or anything like that. He was fantastic. He was obviously had a chip on his shoulder first game back, but he's the type of player that's going to keep that style of play up. And yeah, just coming out in your first game back with 2 assists, Joe's just hoping for a positive plus minus, and man, he knocked it out of the park. So he was just completely noticeable. One thing that did scare me going back to the Toronto game is he drove the net really hard and got shoved into Matt Murray. I think the penalties were matching or whatever, but they were trying to say that, oh, Anthony Cirelli just dove right into the goalie. He charged him. He meant to hit him, but like, who does that coming off of major shoulder surgery? Charging into a goaltender, leading with your shoulder. I was just, praying to God. I'm like, oh God, is he all right? Is he all right? He was all right. He was fine, and he just kept the momentum going. There again, I can't say enough. He just provided such a boost to not only the bottom 6, but the top 6 as well. I feel like a lot of guys were just playing for Cirelli that game, and man, he was just absolutely tremendous. Hopefully we see him on this RBLR 3 Bolts of the Week sometime soon. Again.
He was great. There's no question about that. And Cirelli mentioned that, by the way, Matt, after the game. He was talking about how they were asking about, him taking some hits, and he said that, they tested that out in practice and made sure he was good to go. And a lot of those guys will tell you all the time in their first game back, they want those hits. They want those collisions because it kind of gets them going and makes them go, all right, I'm okay now. I'm ready to go. And they can get back into that full swing of things. So, but I'm just the only penalty on that, because normally when the player gets pushed into a goaltender or goes into a goaltender, you're the one that usually gets a penalty. That's usually how that works.
Yeah, it's always a goaltender interference question.
Always seems
penalty.
how it is.
You can get cross-checked in the back of the head and thrown out of a catapult into the goaltender. Still be a penalty on the Lightning. We've seen the precedent.
Let's go to our number 2 star of the week, this one. And I'm a little excited for this one. Our number 2 star is none other than the man himself, Corey Perry. And I have to call you guys out a little bit here. I was rooting for Corey Perry on the 3-star list last week, and you guys are going, no, I don't know. Let's see how he does. But Corey Perry has a fantastic 2 games this week, and he gets the number 2 star of the week. Matt, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Corey Perry?
I bend thy knee to Jake Ricker. He was absolutely right. A week ago when we decided the stars, I was like, he's only had, 1 or 2 good games this week. But man, in that Toronto game, and even the Philadelphia game, but the Toronto game, he showed out. I'd argue that he was probably the best player on the ice the entire game. One of these days, one of those toe drag off the right wing goals, it's going in. It has to. Matt Murray made a great stop, but it was an even better move by Corey Perry. If only it translated to a goal, but he still walked away with 2 assists that night. Just hats off. Tremendous week for him. I think his totals were a goal and 3 assists in just these 2 games. So I will take it. He's been nothing short of phenomenal this week. And man, I mean, Scary Perry. I can't say much more about it. Hopefully he can keep this up, but we all know he's a playoff warrior.
Scory Perry.
Scary Perry.
He's a playoff warrior, and he's really good in front of the net. That's where he makes his living. And he got an assist on the Kucherov power play goal, but you really can't say enough about the beautiful screen that he set up for Kucherov to absolutely snipe that one. It was one of the prettier shots that I remember seeing of Kuch, mostly because you got to see the perfect camera angle where you're directly behind Kucherov in line with the net, and you can see how he head faked the defender to slide him just a little bit to the left, which opened up the right side of the net. The goalie couldn't see it because Corey Perry was directly in front, and Corey Perry made sure to move out of the way of the shot, so he put it into the short side of the net. That happened because of a beautiful screen from a guy that's having some beautiful games.
And now, of course, we have to go to our number 1 star of the week. And we've already talked about this guy a ton this week. I don't think everybody would have guessed, seen this coming. The one and only, I think there's only 3 words to describe him right here, guys. Steven.
Christopher
Stamkos.
There you go. That's all you need right there. The perfect way to describe our number 1 star of the week. Steven Stamkos hitting 1,000 points on the NHL season. Next, let's jump into some talk about our power play, guys. We've mentioned this the last couple of weeks now, but I think it needs to be brought up again as they had an interesting couple of games. Of course, the shorthanded goal that came up, and but I still think they're playing a lot better. Joe, you were the one that brought this up initially, so I want to start with you. Your thoughts on the power play for the Lightning these last couple of weeks?
So they absolutely blew up the power play. I guess it was probably around 10 games ago where they're having such struggles that I was pretty concerned with what the Lightning could do in order to get themselves back on track here. We've now gone 10 games with 10 consecutive games with the power play goal, which can't be understated what a turnaround that really is. One of the big changes that they did, though, was put Sergachev on the blue line for them as the lone defenseman. And then we saw in that Toronto game that he, you could say that maybe he saw the ref out of the corner of his eye and thought maybe it was his own player, but he needs to do a little bit better with the puck management at any rate. And he got demoted down to the second power play with Hedman now coming back up. I'd say overall, though, I really like the production that they've been having. They just kind of got to clean stuff up in their own end when it comes to having more hustle to get back and prevent scoring chances for the other team.
What a world we live in when we have power play goals in 10 straight, yet we still sit here and still try to dissect, like, why do we suck? What is going on? It's confusing to me again. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working great, but at the same time, stop, do something, hit the brakes. I mean, we have currently 6 shorthanded goals against this season. We lead the NHL in shorthanded goals this season. The last time the Lightning had 6 shorthanded goals against in an entire 82 game season was the 2013-14 season. Over 82 games. Here we are 24 games into the season and we already have 6. It's unacceptable to me. I'm not trying to get riled up. I don't know what the solution may be, but it's asinine. It truly is crazy. We lead the NHL far and away in shorthanded goals against 24 games into the season. Joe, to your point, I don't necessarily think Sergachev got demoted off the power play, but Victor Hedman got promoted. I want to give him a little bit of a shout out, even though he hasn't been putting up any points really recently. He's still been looking a lot better. I think he's kind of starting to finally shake off whatever ailment injury he had, 10 or so games ago, or it might be a little more now. I think he's just been playing a lot better and just regaining his rightful role on the power play, because with him not on the power play, his point totals have dropped a lot. He's not necessarily a power play merchant, but that to me, at least me with my rose-colored glasses on, that is my idea, because I don't think, because Sergachev, he's been performing too well on the power play to be demoted. I have to strictly think that it was a promotion for Hedman, and they might even interchange. It depends. It probably might be a game-by-game thing, or it might just be, it could also very well be a demotion, but that's just my rose-colored take on it.
Well, I mean, no matter how it looks to us, it's got to feel like a demotion to Sergachev, and maybe something that he takes a little bit note of, where he can't be so cavalier in his own zone. Because now that's two. I gave him benefit of the doubt on the first one because the puck kind of jumped on him, and sometimes bad things happen. But now he turned over another one deep in the defensive zone, and it resulted in a goal. But we also can look at. Well, it's his day, so I won't bring up his name and say that he's been defensively lapsed a bit on the power play, but just making sure that we get our forwards back and not giving up shorthanded opportunities like the breakaway that we saw. Was it last week or the week before from the power play? You're right. It's a crazy dichotomy. We have a team that's giving up a lot of shorthanded goals, but are on a 10-game streak here with their power play goals, and they look so good on it when they're hammering it out. It's going to be interesting to see how other teams make adjustments to try to really pressure the defensemen as the team's breaking out of their own zone. If the Lightning can get out clean of their own zone, get through the neutral zone, everything's gravy. It's when they get a little bit of pressure before they even cross their own blue line that we're seeing problems now.
I think the increased power play scoring has kind of counterbalanced the shorthanded goals a little bit. Like when they were giving up shorthanded goals and the power play was struggling, it was a really glaring issue. Now that they're at least playing better on the power play, I think people are kind of, willing to look the other way a little bit. But Matt, as you mentioned, the shorthanded goals are still the number one issue for the Lightning. And yeah, we're playing better, and it's crazy that we're almost a little nitpicking, but they can be a major issue. I mean, look at the game against Toronto. I mean, you're not going to have 3-on-3 overtime in the postseason, and that shorthanded goal, the Lightning would have won that game in regulation if you don't give up that shorthanded goal. So it's a major issue for the Lightning, and they've got to fix it quickly, because it will become an issue if you keep this up. It's something you do not want to be a leader in whatsoever, and hopefully they get figured out. I think it's still also has something to do with some of these defensemen. I think they're just banged up and just not 100%. Sergachev I think is fine. Like guys like Hedman, Cernak's always banged up. That guy's basically wrapped in bubble wrap 24/7 because it's always something with him. But I don't know what it is, but the shorthanded goals need to be cleaned up very quickly. That's for sure.
And you also you also have to consider the momentum swings when you give up a shorthanded goal. They say that if you kill off a penalty, that you get a boost of momentum for your team. But if you score on that one, the momentum swing is huge. So it's something that carries on well past just what the scoreboard is showing, that makes the team have to work even harder to overcome when they give one of those up.
And there definitely was a swing. That entire game was just waves of momentum for and against the Lightning. But at least after that shorthanded goal, they didn't get dragged down by it. It was only 2 minutes and some change later, albeit it was kind of a scrappy-ish, not a complete set play, but Vladimir Mesnikov finally breaks his seal, gets the massive silverback gorilla off of his back, scores his first. So it wasn't, a huge damper. But the first shift after the shorthanded goal, you could see the Leafs were even still killing a penalty. They had some momentum riding on it, but at least we transitioned out of that and got a goal out of it, 2 minutes later. So.
Well, we've got a lot of exciting things coming up this month. By the way, guys, if you go ahead and follow us at RBLR Sports, don't forget to do that. Let us know what you guys think about the power play. What changes should they make? We'd love to hear your thoughts as always. So give us a follow at RBLR Sports and let us know any of your thoughts that you guys have on these games. Chime in and join the conversation along with us. But exciting month coming up. A lot of big games. I want to ask you guys what your kind of, we did this last month is, what was the big thing for November? We talked about, win those home games because Lightning had a really big homestand. I want to ask you guys, what is your big thing for this month of December? What do you want to see from the Lightning? The first thing, Matt, I'll jump to you quickly, and then I'll come back and finish my point.
No shorthanded goals. That's it. I rest my case.
There you go. Simple and sweet, right? So the Lightning actually have 7 in division games coming up this month. There was 8 if you include Toronto's, which we just played. So 7 games within the division. Those are big games that you want to make sure you win. Obviously, those points within the division are very big when you're trying to look at the overall playoff race. So if the Lightning can really focus on those division games and play the best in those, I think that is how you can measure a successful month for December. Obviously, you're not going to win all of them. I mean, ideally you do, but if you can at least win a majority of these division games coming up, I think that's the big test for the Lightning this month.
And I'm big on consistency. I want to see them continue to play this playoff style game that they've had where they, are trying to shut down the other team a lot more than just run and gun. The other thing I feel like December is typically a bad month for injuries. So I want to see the Lightning also come out of December without having any major injuries added to their lineup, and that would be, you covered the rest. That would be ideal.
Hey, listen, we just got Cirelli back. We got mostly everybody back healthy. Let's not add to that list. That's the last thing we need.
I want to back up for just a quick second because I figured out how to pull up this stat. For last month, the Lightning were 4th for the power play conversion percentage. The teams above them being the Oilers, the Bruins, and the Avs. So they're in pretty good company when it comes to being productive on that power play for November.
The power play improved.
I'll take that number 4 spot all day. They've been phenomenal, other than their obvious shortcomings.
The shorthanded goal. That's the number one issue right now for the Lightning. Let's take a look at what's coming up this week as we get ready to wrap up this episode here. So the Lightning have actually kind of kicked off another big homestand with that first one against Toronto. They have the next 5 games coming up here at home. Of course, the first game will be, as of this recording, tomorrow, Tuesday, against the Detroit Red Wings at Amalie Arena at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then we will have the Nashville Predators returning to Amalie Arena. Again, that game at 7 p.m. Eastern. Unfortunate news in that one, as Joe, you pointed out earlier, is that McDonough is unfortunately on the IR, so he's not going to be on the ice for that game against Nashville, which is a little disappointing. I don't know if they're going to do their normal tribute thing. It'll be his first time back at Amalie Arena, but unfortunately no McDonough for that game.
If he even makes the trip, it's the only game that he's coming here this year. It'd be nice to at least him make the trip so they can do a tribute.
I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the trip, because something else, I never mentioned this, but Anthony Cirelli went on that trip, a while ago. I think it was partially due because he was close to returning, but then a part of me also thought maybe he did it because Stamkos was close to hitting 1,000 points and he wanted to be there for his teammate. I don't know if that's true, but maybe McDonough does come with the team to reunite with his buds down here in Tampa.
You guys are saying it's unfortunate McDonough's not playing or whatever. It's very fortunate he's not playing, man. He sucked to play against. We've all seen that. So,
you're not wrong.
Emotionally, I'm sad he's not going to be able to get his return to Amalie Arena this year because he does play in the other conference. But strictly looking at it as my biased Lightning team win every game, thank God he's not playing, man. He's a rock.
And then, of course, the Lightning will be finishing off this upcoming week against the Florida Panthers. That game at 4:30. So an early, kind of not even a matinee. It's kind of in the middle of a matinee and regular start time. So a little bit of a weird go for the Lightning at 4:30. But big game against the Florida Panthers, of course, for the Lightning. So, guys, any other thoughts on some of these games upcoming this week?
Well, I'd say that the game of the week definitely is going to be that Florida game. And I really hope the Bolts pull that one out to give me a birthday win. That'd be really nice, guys, if I can have one request. It's going to be against a red-hot Matthew Tkachuk, who's tied for fifth for points just behind Kucherov. He's got 32 points to Kucherov's 34. So that'll be a marquee matchup and the game that I'm looking forward to.
What partially suspendable action will Matthew Tkachuk commit against one of the Lightning members this week? I'm taking bets. What's it going to be?
Nothing, because Nick Perbix is going to rock him again.
Yes, correct answer,
what an answer.
Jake. Just not. It's kind of off topic. I think we've covered everything about the upcoming games and whatnot. But something fun. Do either of you guys? I'm sure both of you guys know Young Gravy. But I don't know if you guys have heard his new song with Rich Brian and BBNOS, whatever. It's C'est la vie. I don't know if you know, but he name dropped the Tampa Bay Lightning in one of his lyrics in the song. And it goes as follows: double cup ice like Tampa Lightning. I mean, I'm not a huge Young Gravy fan. I don't hate him or anything like that, but man, brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to have to go with a hot take here. I want to be honest with you. Listen, Gravy Train, 10 out of 10. Great song, perfect win song. That was awesome for the Lightning. I don't love this song. I don't like this song at all. I think the lyrics are a little weird. It's an interesting win song to have for, it's definitely not a family-friendly song. I'll say that much. It's not my style. I know some people love it, but you're right.
Cool,
you did name
cool
drop
see
the
the pulse
Lightning.
in pop culture.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but
Jake, just be happy for once.
what are you talking about? I've been cheering on Corey Perry.
I'm sorry. I've been the pessimist. I've been the pessimist this episode. My bad.
No, hey, it's all in good fun. Some people love that kind of stuff, and it's just not personally for me. But hey, I still love Gravy Train. That was still one of the greatest songs, and I love that it's on our Stanley Cup ring as well. So, hey, guys, that's going to do it for us in this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you could do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, give us that 5-star rating, whatever it is on whatever platform you're listening to. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out. And again, don't forget to follow us at RBLR Sports on our social media as well, so you don't miss out on future episodes just like this one or any other, the podcast as well. The Bucks, the Rays, the Rowdies, all those guys are doing some fantastic work, so make sure you go check them out and give them a listen as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. Go Bolts!
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.